It's finally time to talk about Metalism by Babymetal from the other one. This is a song that I think a lot of people have been speaking about a bit, and I'm really excited to finally be giving you my review of this one. As always, it's part of the track-by-track review we're doing of the other one by Babymetal. Follow the little playlist in the description below if you want. Or otherwise, let's get back into unpacking this song right now. Hi there and welcome back to Japan, and yes, there is a lot to break down and unpack about METALIZM. It gets stuck in your head a lot, doesn't it? First of all, we have to really discuss the fact there's quite a few techniques going on in this song. Things that do make it stand out as being quite different from a lot of the other songs on this album, although being in keeping sort of tonally and being a metal song and having that sort of nice production sheen that seems to have typified this album as a general, having strong power sort of vocals going on in there are a few things that make this very different. So let's really break them down one at a time, but start off with the song structure as usual. Now, structurally, this song is a little bit more EDM, actually, than a lot of the other songs that use more EDM production on this album, in that it's building up not so much to a chorus. There isn't really, in my opinion, a chorus in the song so much as a build up to that eventual bit where we get a big loud blast of the sort of staccato brass, and then in comes that guitar solo, and that's the bit where you really start headbanging. All the vocals, all of the verse, even the sort of metalism, that bit, which is a kind of refrain itself, that is all building you up to the eventual sort of payoff, the eventual catharsis, the eventual crescendo of that big guitar solo that comes around twice, which really is, in my, but that's the refrain, that's the bit the song's building up to. So that's really the structure of this song. So let's break down the various techniques it uses to take you through this process, because this is not just your typical sort of EDM build up, wait for the drop kind of song. No, what instead we have here is a lot of interesting techniques. Now, first of all, I like the fact that this song is based on a tripleted rhythm. I always say that every contemporary album should at least have a tripleted or a 3/4 rhythm in it somewhere. Basically, in case you don't know, most rhythms in most contemporary music are like a 1, 2, 3, 4 count. And you can have a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for sort of more of a swinging ballad. But sometimes you can have a song like this that has those really quick 3 counts, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and it can use that to build up a sort of a tension, and that's very beautifully done here. It really helps to build up a sort of underlying tension underneath everything. Now, that's backed up by the scale that this song is in. Now, the scale that this song is in is something, I mean, we always try to use accessible language on this channel, so I guess you could call it like an Arabic style scale. I think I've always referred to it as like a dominant Phrygian scale, but it's basically one where it has that sort of mysterious feeling that often comes along with that. It feels very atmospheric. Now, Babymetal, a lot of the time, a lot of their songs are about atmosphere. There's a sort of theatrical element to a lot of the best Babymetal songs and performances, and this delivers it through that. I get a feeling that in a way it reminded me of a similar technique in Shanty Shanty that kind of had kind of a Middle Eastern, more Indian vibe to it. We're getting a similar sort of vibe here of something that just sounds very mysterious, sounds kind of historical, from the sands of time, if you will. All stereotypes, but it does beautifully convey in the music. And I really like the fact that that also came across really well in those guitar solos. The guitar solos really lent into that. That, again, just made it beautiful on an atmospheric standpoint. The next technique, of course, we're usually in any song by a metal band, when you get to the heavy bit, you expect a big, loud guitar stab. You know, the guitar is the loud sound in most metal songs. What's interesting here is that the big, loud sound we get when we get to the crescendo is that sort of staccato brass, that bam, that comes from like horns, that comes from the orchestral horns, brass, I don't know. But it's a sound that, if you've been following a lot of contemporary music, I don't know whether they recorded this directly or whether this was done using a keyboard sound font, because there is a sound font that a lot of contemporary artists have been using that has a sound font. Basically is like a pre-recorded group of sounds you can load into a keyboard, and they're commercially available. They're used by a lot of artists, so you'll sometimes hear certain sounds come up in multiple songs because it's just like an instrument that is sold commercially for artists to use license-free in keyboards. But there is one going around that was being used for about the last 10 years, which is like a loud brass stab, and this sounds exactly like that one. I first heard it actually on like I think it was like the last Ice Cube album about 10 years ago, and so it's very effective though, which is why you hear it used everywhere. It's been used a lot in the last decade, and it sounded a lot like that, but it's been used a lot Because it's really effective. And here, I thought it was one of the best uses I've ever heard of it. It's used so cheaply by some other artists who just want to make something sound big when in fact the song doesn't back it up. This song backs it up. You get all the build up, and then when you eventually get to that big that big sort of orchestral brass horn, whatever it is, sound blaring out and giving you that quick stab, it feels great. Yes, we loved guitar. Guitar is always great, but it makes a nice difference from the rest of the album as well. The guitar in this song is more doing intricate things. It's there for the solo. It's there to give you something a little bit complex. And it's nice to hear the heavy lifting, the big impactful things taken over by a different instrument. And also relying on that orchestral sound for the bigger part of the sound. That's nice as well, because again, it plays into the atmospheric side of the song. Final technique worth mentioning is an old Babymetal favourite, repetition. As I alluded at the beginning of this song, that METALIZM, it gets stuck in your head. I mean, I don't know what metalism is, I could guess. I don't know what metalism is, other than maybe just a musical way to say metalism. It's all confusing, and yet it really works. It gets stuck in your head, and as I say, I can't even say metalism now. Like when I first saw it on the track list, I was like, oh, metalism, okay. Sounds like a generic name. Now, every time I see that, I'm like, metalism, I'm going to get copyright blocked for just saying that, aren't I? But yeah, it works. It's good at getting stuck in your head, and that as well isn't just a throwaway technique. As with all the techniques I've mentioned, it plays towards something intrinsic about the song, and in this case, that repetition plays towards building up the tension. We mentioned about that tripleted rhythm that goes underneath everything that gives it that like a horse galloping almost kind of thing. Probably that wasn't a good example, but kind of like a train along the tracks kind of vibe. And so with the repetition as well, it plays towards that. It gives you that sort of repetition, kind of keeps everything rolling. And as you hear everything else building up underneath, it's like that sort of thumping, increasing heartbeat. It's the thing that makes you feel like you're really building towards something. So when it eventually gets to that crescendo, even though it might just be loud stab guitar solo, it really feels like it's being built up to and played into very well. So yeah, again, just the repetition, it's nice, it's part of the whole feeling. So in conclusion, no one's going to win any awards for writing on this so much, but this song is a great example of use of techniques, production, and arrangement. This is more about paying an effect. It really knows how to just use sounds and use those, like I said, those little clever techniques that we've talked about in this review to really sort of build up the tension. You don't have to do anything particularly interesting and novel. There's no particularly clever payoff chorus here where you remember it and it gets stuck in your head. It's, as a general, the song doesn't have any one part other than that metalism, which is just repetition. There is nothing about it otherwise that will get stuck in your head. What gets stuck in your head is the memory of the fact that this is the song on the album with the most tension, the most sense of urgency, the song that most feels like it really, really, really is just going to jump out of your computer and strangle you at any moment. It's a song that really is filled with tension and just for beautifully being put together. Beautiful use of nice little techniques. I like it. I really like it. Is it going to be one of those songs that you go, oh, I have to listen to that every time? Is it going to be one of those songs that you come back to automatically? No. But it is one of those songs where if you let it start playing during your album listen through, and if you're not inclined to skip over it, within a few seconds it's going to grab you and you're going to be on that journey again. So Metalism, it's really interesting. It's different. I like the fact it adds colour to the album. I think it's a really great little song. So as always, get into the comments. I think it's going to be a rather divisive one, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys say in the comments until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.